I'm back after a small absence. I have been a little bit missing in action. I did have a purpose behind my madness. I've learned a couple things. I've created a few strategies and frameworks to get to that overcomer place. I truly feel like this is the overcomer's journey. Trauma through transformation into triumph. I'll fight to rescue people who are going through trauma and pain and heartache and heartbreak, not because I'm special, but because that's the transformation God was taking me through. And this is the beauty of evolution. This is what happens to us when we decide we're no longer going to live under this constant stagnation, but we are going to grow and thrive and overcome. At the end of the day, I want you to know, I might undergo identity shifts. But this is not just my identity shift. It's our identity shift. We're shifting together. And if you're ready to go on this journey with me, then I invite you to come along. Look, this isn't the end of Through the Trauma. This is the ignition of something so much bigger. And we're here to stay, to grow stronger, to grow clearer, to grow more aligned. I'd like to invite you to grow with us. And I promise you to give you my all and giving you everything that you need to overcome your trauma. Let's link arms and collaborate and do this thing together. Get some people healed and make the world a better place.
An exploration of trauma, transformation, and triumph. Your healing starts here.
All right, here I am back after a small absence. For those of you who've noticed, or if you've not noticed, I have taken the last several weeks and been a little bit missing in action. And I want to take some time today and explain why that is. There's obviously a purpose for that. I didn't just do it out of laziness. I did have a purpose behind my madness. And probably my biggest thing is I should have been a little more transparent about taking that break, letting you know where we're at. I started this podcast 2.5 years ago. When I started it, I always said I would be consistent with dropping episodes. And up to that point, I had been pretty consistent at missing a week here and there, but always letting you know why. Over the last 3 weeks, I stepped away, and I'm going to be honest with you. There was some different things going on that I just wasn't clear on, and I wanted to get clear. I wanted to consult with God. I wanted to find out exactly what it was He wanted me to do and how He wanted me to handle this podcast. And as I was going through my own personal shifts in my own personal life, I was asking God, what should I do here with the podcast? And does the way that I run this podcast still serve me and serve my audience and serve the direction in which God is taking me? Life is about evolving and changing, and life is all about change. And I think when we resist change, that's when we have issues. I didn't want to resist it. I wanted to lean into it. I always am curious to where God's taking me. And I've learned through my own personal life experiences that when you get to a place of unknown, sometimes the very best thing you can do is take a step back and wait on God. That's what I did. Now, let me just preface this, first of all, before we get into all of the things, what has happened, the identity shift that's taken place in myself, where I've been, what I plan on doing with the podcast, and where we go from here. Let me just preface this episode by saying, I'm probably going to talk about God because I'm a Christian. I do not tell people this is a Christian podcast because I don't think it is a Christian podcast. I think it is a platform and a place for everybody to come together. God says, what is the greatest of all things is love. And my heart is to give love, not from a judgmental place, but from a place of truly, genuinely loving someone, being empathetic, trying to figure out where they're coming from, why they do the things that they do, why they feel the way that they feel, and what I can give, whether that's personally what I can give or who I can connect them with to give them the best possible outcome and help them thrive on the other side of whatever they're going through. And that is the crux of Through the Trauma podcast. That is where I started this place over the last 2.5 years of learning through talking to different people and sitting with different experts and even engaging in some of my own healing modalities for myself. I've got to this place where I truly feel like I have a platform that is really beautiful. because it meets people where they are. If you believe in God, great. You have a place here. If you don't believe in God, hey, you know what? I'm still going to love you. Okay. Maybe I don't agree with you, but I'm still going to love you through that. So if that sits well with you, that's great. Keep listening, support, like, share, follow, all the things, right? If it doesn't sit well with you, then we don't align, and that's okay too. Go find another podcast that aligns with you. But this one, you're going to get loved. So if that's what you want, stay with me. Okay. Now, we've got that out of the way. Let me just say, this has never been my platform. This has always been God's platform. From the moment that He helped me start this platform, from the moment He spoke it into existence, He just gave me vision for it. I just was the willing bystander that said, here I am, God, use me. And I feel like He has. And every moment of my weakness where I have said, God, I'm ready to quit, He says, no, you're not going to quit, Amber. You're going to keep doing this. It's not yours, it's mine. And me, not wanting to be disobedient, I would do it. And in doing it, producing this podcast and sitting here and hosting it and bringing people on and doing all the work that it entails, it has been rewarding and fulfilling. That is how God works. And if you know Him, then you know this. He tells you to do something. It's hard. It's challenging. You fight it. There's resistance, all the things that you got to get over. But then after you get over it, guess what? There's beauty and fulfillment, and you thrive, and it's wonderful, and it's rewarding. And you look back and you say, I did that thing. I contribute so many things back to fitness, and I can tell you this, that in a workout, especially if you don't feel like going, you're intimidated to step in the gym, you don't want to lift the weight, you're scared to lift the weight, you don't know if you're going to crumble under it. It's hard. You're going to breathe heavy. Your muscles are going to ache. You're going to burn. When you walk out of that place, though, guess what? You feel pretty good. Your body may be in shambles and you may be in pain, but you feel pretty good because it's rewarding. And guess what? You approach this with consistency, and then one day you look in the mirror and you say, oh my God, I look great. Where did that come from? I don't know. From your consistency and your obedience and your resilience and your continuing to do the thing that you know is health. That's fitness. But I'm not talking about fitness here. I'm using it as a parallel, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about walking with God. Now let's shift things slightly and let's talk about where I've been, because I feel like that just set the context. Okay. I want to start by telling you about two experiences that I had. I feel like God speaks through our life experiences. It's up to us to notice it, to listen, to hear Him, right? He speaks, but are we listening? So a few months ago, I had gone to do a speaking engagement. I'm not a speaker by nature. I started this podcast totally not a speaker, but God has helped me overcome some of the things, and He told me to go speak at this event and opened all the doors for me to do so. I had a speaking coach, and it was all in all a wonderful experience, although super stressful and pushed me way outside of my comfort zone. It was also wonderful. My speech was on overcoming, and a lot of what I gathered through that speech is what I've learned from doing this podcast and talking to a lot of overcomers, a lot of people that have triumphed on the other side of their trauma. I've learned a couple things. I've created a few strategies and frameworks to get to that overcomer place. And that's what I spoke about. And in the end, I gave a call to action for people to listen to this podcast because I truly feel like this is the overcomer's journey. Trauma through transformation into triumph. At the end of this speech, my speaking coach comes running backstage and she says, Amber, I think that your podcast needs a rebrand. Right now, your podcast is through the trauma, and it kind of gives a negative connotation. Trauma is negative, but you're not there anymore. You're an overcomer. And I think that you need to change the name to something more positive. I listened and I sat with that and I contemplated it, to be honest with you. And I left there that day and I flew back home and I come back and I sat with it and I meditated on it and I prayed about it. And I was left with not really being clear on what to do. Fast forward another month or so. And for those of you who know, I am a photographer. I started my business doing fitness photography, moved into branding, and then now do a lot of content creation and different things inside of the business. And we're actually growing the business and doing a lot of new things So if you don't follow, go follow Empowerography because we're doing some amazing things over there. I'm really excited about it. But I had one of my previous clients had reached out to me. She said, Amber, I want you to come out to California, shoot me on the beach. We are rebranding, revamping this course that I'd had for some time, and we're blowing it up because it's been so impactful. So I go out and I do this photo shoot, and it's beautiful and it's a wonderful experience. I truly feel like I got some downloads from God on this whole trip. And when I left, she's like, you have to get into this course. And if you follow me on social media, on my personal social media page, which is the.amber.larkins on Instagram, you can see the post that I made a little while back where I was in front of a fire burning paper. I was burning my limiting beliefs. And that was part of the things that took place in this course, which was hugely impactful. And the caption to that post said, the course I never knew I needed. Because it was a course I never knew I needed, but it was transformational. And a lot of things began to shift after taking this course. So there again, I'm left with this thing. God, what do I do with the podcast? There's this negative connotation. There's the way that I've been running things. Is that still true to me? Is that true to this transformation that's happening inside of me? Because in my being, I felt like God was shifting things in a way from this original Amber that was meek and soft and kind to this 2.0 version that was strong and powerful and independent to this now warrior version. This version that said, I'll fight to rescue people who are going through trauma and pain and heartache and heartbreak, not because I'm special, but because that's the transformation God was taking me through. And when I reflected on myself, I seen there was versions of me that no longer served my mission and my purpose. And this is the beauty of evolution. This is the beauty of human growth. This is what happens to us when we decide we're no longer going to live under this constant stagnation, but we are going to grow and thrive and overcome. And the final straw of that is when you're at that position, when you have truly experienced a shift in your mindset and your perspective, is then you can look back and you can rescue those that are going through the same type of thing that you've been through. So many people coin themselves as experts, but what truly makes you an expert in a certain situation is that you've endured it. You've experienced it. You've been through it. You've found the things that help. Does that help everybody? No. But does it help some people? Absolutely. And I sat with these things. I sat with them and I asked for clarity. What is it that you truly want me to do with this podcast? He didn't say change the name. Through the Trauma is exactly the name that God gave me with this podcast. Through the Trauma is a picture of the process that we go through. We don't always ask for trauma. We don't always expect pain. But when we have to endure it in this life, it is a process to get through it. And it meets every person in different places. Some people have the perspective to overcome it right away. Some people need a little more additional help. And some people struggle to even survive. They go to things like addiction or sex, or some people run to toxic things to try to overcome or fill the hole of the pain and trauma that's in their heart. Some people are drowning, just trying to survive. And when I look back over my life and I see the places either I created or it was cast upon me, no matter what, there was a place that I wish I could have found, but I felt alone. I didn't have that place. And when I would pray about this after I became a Christian, one thing that God began to show me is that if you can't find the place, create it. That's what I did here on this podcast. So changing the name was out of the question. Trauma is a part of life. It's a trigger word right now. It's coined as one of those words that we see a lot on social media, but nonetheless, it is something that all humans go through on some level. And because of that, we all have to learn to overcome it. And unfortunately, this is not something that we're taught in schools. Managing emotions is not something that we're taught as human beings, but it should be. So here's the conclusion. One thing that you can expect to change on the podcast is I don't know if this will be temporarily or if this will be for the long term, but we are planning to drop down to bi-weekly episodes. Some of this comes because it is a lot of work running a podcast. And while I would love to continue to drop episodes every week, I just don't feel like every episode is getting the emphasis that it deserves. And it's not getting out to enough people. And I would love to give more clips, more emphasis, more advertising, more things to each individual episode. It allows us to go deeper. It allows us to dig more into the quality. It allows us to interview a little bit longer to really pull and draw out the most significant parts of each story in each interview. What can you expect from these interviews? You can expect deeper conversations around trauma, more raw, more real, more authentic, more not shying away from the hard topics, which has always been a point that we've tried to do. But I think creating more depth is important. And then also allowing our guests to give more practical advice, more resources, sharing more about healing modalities and the different things that you can do and get involved in when it comes to healing from your trauma. This podcast has never been just a podcast in my mind. There's always been a greater vision. And what I really hope to do eventually through this podcast is to create an entire ecosystem for healing, for people who need healing that are looking for it, to connect those people with the right experts so that they can get the healing that they need, and to make it affordable, because I know that a lot of times when people want to overcome trauma, it's a lengthy, expensive process. And sometimes when you are in the midst of trauma, financially, there can be constraints. I want my listeners and people that align with this podcast to find what they need on whatever level they're on. So there will be a clear and defined direction to get to that place of creating not only a safe place, but a place where it meets you where you are in both emotionally, physically, and financially. I want to provide lots of free information, from guides to practices to digital tools. I want there to be cutting edge modalities and for you to be able to explore these modalities before you go and get sold on them. Because sometimes we can get sold on something that we don't really need. And I want you to be able to make decisions if you are undergoing some type of trauma, to be able to explore these types of modalities before you go jump in and get involved in them. If you're looking for coaches, experiences, retreats, I want to explore all of those areas. Bring on guests that do these things, that offer these things, so that you can see what you're getting before you get involved in it. No matter where you're coming from, I want you to understand that we all deserve to thrive on the other side of our trauma. And that is my heart behind this podcast. I want to help you connect with community, with people that are like-minded or other people that have gone through it. I want your questions to be answered. I want you to experience huge mindset shifts and perspective shifts. Sometimes people will preach mindset, but then they don't tell you how to get to that mindset. At least this has been a struggle in my own walk and self-growth. That sometimes it's a question of, gain more confidence. Well, how do I gain more confidence? Oh, let things go. How do I let things go? There's all these questions around mindset, perspective shifts. And when we look on social media, there's all these information about what we should do, but it doesn't tell us how to do it. Now, for those of you who stay tuned through the Trauma Podcast and you walk with us into the future and into season 4, which will be coming in the next few months, I want you to know that there's going to be even more healing modalities, more availability to heal, and exploring those healing practices mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. Through the Trauma Podcast is not just a podcast. It never was. This is a movement for true healing in the world. If you want healing, then I invite you to come, and my prayer is that you find it here. If you don't want healing, this is probably not the platform for you. So where does this leave us? If you are someone who has a story and you have truly overcame, and you feel like you have advice to give to someone else about overcoming trauma, reach out to us. I want to bring on guests that are purpose-driven and that have advice to give to those that are struggling through different types of trauma, be that betrayal, divorce, grief, pain, heartache, loss, whatever. If you are someone who has or is dealing with any of those things mentioned or any type of trauma in that regard, then I want you to listen, like, share, comment, give me feedback, tell me how I can be better, tell me what I can give you that is going to help you grow. I have this podcast, one, because God spoke it into existence, two, because I have supporters and listeners and guests that come on here and make it happen. And for that, I'm forever grateful. But at the end of the day, I want you to know I might undergo identity shifts, but this is not just my identity shift. It's our identity shift. We're shifting together. And if you're ready to go on this journey with me, then I invite you to come along. In closing, I want to just say this. If you're driving, don't do this. But if you are someplace where you can close your eyes, I want you to think of this for a moment. I want you to imagine a world where when you are going through heartache and pain and heartbreak, that you can come, that you can find advice, resources, and a community to rally around you during that time. I want you to imagine being able to connect with experts, people that give you free or very affordable advice on where to go from here. Different coaching, different healing modalities, different books that you can read, all of the resources, different guides. I want you to imagine a world where people have permission to grow, evolve, thrive, and to channel their pain into purpose. Look, this isn't the end of Through the Trauma. This is the ignition of something so much bigger. And we're here to stay, to grow stronger, to grow clearer, to grow more aligned in the space that we have here on this platform. So I'd like to invite you to grow with us and join us every other week as we release a new episode of Through the Trauma podcast. And I promise you to give you my all in giving you everything that you need to overcome your trauma. Thank you for listening. Thank you if you've made it this far. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Let's link arms and collaborate and do this thing together. Get some people healed and make the world a better place.
Hey there, friend. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for spending this time here with us on Through the Trauma podcast. Your presence means more than you know. If this episode has spoke to you or gave you hope or made you feel just a little bit less alone, then I would love it if you would take a second, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who truly needs to hear it. Every share, every comment, every listen, it all helps our message get out and reach those who truly need it the most. Healing happens inside of a community, and together we are breaking the silence and creating space for transformation. Thank you so much for being a part of this journey. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. You are not alone.